What's going on, guys? So, crazy day in the markets. We pumped overnight on Nvidia earnings and had a huge gap up. And then, about an hour into open, we faded hard. So, one thing I did say in the Discord last night was be careful. It looks good overnight, but don't chase a gap up. You want to wait the first 30 to an hour to settle, just to make sure we confirm. And if you didn't know why I was saying that, it's just because based on this podcast, Confessions of a Market Maker, they definitely like to mess with retail traders. So check that out. It really kind of opened my eyes. So never like to chase a gap up or gap down. And then this morning, I said the market was fading. Put flows were coming in very heavy, and we might fill that gap below. And then we started rejecting and filling this gap, and eventually filled it and went way lower. So puts were paying today. I definitely shorted the market. It was a great trend day down. But one thing I want to get into is SoFi, the chart and the flow. But yes, this put flow was crazy. If we look at the 0-day puts, this morning we had some unusual puts come in, and then they really started stacking them up. So it was a tell sign that we were going lower, and just throughout the entire day they were shorting the market. So we'll see if we bounce tomorrow, but let's get into SoFi and their, the support levels that we're going to be looking for. All right, so getting into SoFi, I have been posting this chart recently, the rising wedge, and we started to break down, and then yesterday we popped back up, and I wanted to see it confirm over this trend line. I said that in last night's video. We did not confirm over. Yes, we popped, but we didn't get a close above the trend line. And then we just dumped today. So we are now sitting at previous month low, and I assume we're going to come down and test 12-month value area high at 2367, which is what I have been waiting for. I am bullish on SoFi, obviously, but I was not buying SoFi up at value area high or even previous month highs. I've been waiting on this retest of this trend line. I sound like a broken record, but I do think we're going to come down and hopefully bounce off that. We also have a fair value gap all the way down to 1890. That seems a little bit steep, but it's not out of the question. I've really just been waiting for this trendline retest, so I will likely start selling puts on SoFi and scaling in. I think this is a great zone to buy in, but that's why I haven't gone too heavy, because I've been just patient with this one. So 12-month value area high is around 2354, and let's check out the daily real quick. Here's that rejection we were talking about. So we had sold off, popped back up, and rejected again. There is a small gap to fill down there near 1894, so it's not out of the question. Nothing to do with SoFi really, just the overall market dumping. But if you just zoom out, things get a lot less scary, and it's really not that big of a deal with how much SoFi is up this year. So there we go. There are your support levels: 2367, 2177, 1894. Those are some pretty big levels, so I'm really not too worried about SoFi. But you can see double top supply zone and coming back down to test the old resistance, which is now support. We could get a bounce tomorrow. But yeah, it really just depends on when buyers are going to step in. So I would like to see us hold these support zones and get a bounce and confirm. If we check out the flow, though, although SPY and everything was selling off, SoFi really didn't have that much put flow. It was 2.1 million compared to 4 million. So even though the overall market's selling off, SoFi's still fine at this moment. But we're just monitoring it. Definitely looking to sell some puts on SoFi as the premium spikes, because on these red days, put premium will spike. So you could come here and sell a put. At least I'm going to be doing this. For November 28th, I'll probably look to sell the 23 or 22 put. I might even go December 5th. So I could get paid some money to buy SoFi where I want it to hopefully bounce. At least that makes sense to me at this point, because if I think we're going to bounce around $23, then that put should expire worthless. But if I also get assigned, I'll just flip around and sell calls against it immediately. So that's what we have on SoFi at the moment. And then we have the MACD crossing over, and we have not quite reached oversold levels, so we could continue to see SoFi dip a bit more. Yeah, you really want to see it kind of come down to this bottom channel. So if we check out SPY though, you can see SPY is not even oversold yet. So yeah, it's definitely likely that the market continues to sell off. Could have some bounces here and there, but I've been very cautious about going long in the market right now. So just being patient, letting things come down to demand zones, and then playing off of that. I think that's the best way to go about it right now. And definitely want to keep cash on hand for opportunities. Some SoFi calls that I'm eyeing, I'm still waiting to get into, but I would be eyeing some January 2028 calls, probably the 35s, but we'll see. Those are expensive. You could also go 2027 and they get much cheaper. So 550, that could be a play there if SoFi continues to sell down. So that's what we have. Let me know what you guys are in right now. I'm just being patient with this market, being patient with SoFi, and not over leveraging, because that would make it hard to hold through turbulent times. If you're leveraged appropriately and comfortable in the company you own, this really doesn't matter in the short term. So that's what I got. Please like and subscribe, and have a good one.